Welcome to the Wisdom That Breathes channel. Across all our platforms, we try to share wisdom which is relevant and accessible to everyone. But on this particular platform, we go deeper into some of the ancient principles found within the scriptures. If you find some of the terminology difficult or inaccessible, then go over to our Keshava Swami YouTube channel where you'll be able to find other content which is perhaps more relatable. Thank you and enjoy the wisdom that breathes. Thank you to all of you for coming this evening. It's a really warm welcome, very grateful for your introduction. Once they introduced Winston Churchill and he said, after an introduction like that, even I'm interested in what I have to say. So thank you so much, really appreciate being here this evening, and thank you to all of you. I'm humbled, I'm inspired to be in your presence. Yaman has been telling me about all of you and your incredible achievements and your contributions to society, to the Hindu community here, and it's really my honor to be able to share some words with you. And Yaman suggested today that we speak about the yoga of work. And that's a very, very interesting topic and a very, very central concept to the Bhagavad Gita. Of course, when a speaker begins to speak about a topic, then you want to know that they are fully qualified to be able to talk about this topic. But I have to submit to you that I have never had a proper job in my life. Just to give you a little bit of the human story behind how I come here before you today. My parents are from Gujarat and they came over to London in the 1970s. And in 1981 I was born. Now you can work out my age. And I grew up in the suburbs of London with a Hindu identity but very much a Western upbringing. And so I had both of these elements to my life. And at the age of 15, I began having questions of life, meaning, purpose. I began questioning what is success? What does my future look like? And at the age of 15, I began looking into spiritual wisdom from many traditions. And of course, one of my first go-to places was the Bhagavad Gita. And so when I was 15, I read the Bhagavad Gita. And over the coming years, it's a book which would fascinate me more and more. I ended up at the age of 18 studying at University College London. I wanted to study philosophy, but my family convinced me to do something more practical. And so I ended up studying computer science and management. And through my university years, my spiritual hunger grew. But at the age of 21, I was a graduate. I had a graduate position lined up in the city of London, but I felt as though I needed to disconnect and really question what my path would be. And so at the age of 21, I traveled to India and I became a 21-year-old monk. We slept on the floor. We lived out of a locker. We would wake up at 4:30 a.m. every morning, and the motto of monastic life was simple living, high thinking. And in those years we studied many, many ancient spiritual teachings, spiritual practices, and I found my calling as a monk. And so 1 year in the monastery, in the ashram, led to 2, which led to 5, which led to 10. And about 25 years later, I still live as a monastic, live as a monk. And nowadays I travel around the world and try to share the ancient principles of the Bhagavad Gita with people in the world in a way that's hopefully relevant, powerful, and useful in order for you to navigate your own journey in this world. So today I'll share with you a little bit about the yoga of work. I won't speak too long. I know you've all probably been at work today. But I will share some ideas with you, and then I'll open the floor to see what kind of questions or comments or contributions you'll make, and hopefully we'll have a nice exchange here. where we can learn some wisdom that will elevate and empower all of our lives. Before I begin, I'll just say a few prayers of invocation as we prepare ourselves to absorb this beautiful spiritual wisdom. So please join me in closing your eyes and paying gratitude to our gurus and our guides. Om Ajnanatirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vashadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. A group of friends once were visiting New York. We just came back from New York, the city that never sleeps. They checked into the Hilton Hotel and they had the penthouse suite on the 100th floor. And so after checking into their room and seeing the beautiful view from the 100th floor, they decided to venture into the Big Apple. And so they went out, they visited restaurants, they visited friends, they visited all kinds of entertainment places. And at about 5 o'clock in the morning, they returned to the hotel a little tired and fatigued. As they entered into the hotel lobby, they had the fright of their life, because as they walked up to the lift, they read a sign, "Out of order." Now when you're in the 100th floor, you may be in the penthouse suite, but when the lift is out of order, well, they decided what to do. We have to bite the bullet. So all 5 friends began walking up the stairs. At about the 20th floor, they said to each other, we better start telling each other stories, otherwise this is going to take a long time. So they told each other stories after stories, happy stories, exciting stories, stories of the past, stories of the family. They reached the 80th floor and they looked at one of the friends and they said, "You've been really quiet, you haven't said any story. Why don't you tell us a story?" He said, "My story is tragic." They said, "Don't worry, we got 20 floors, we're ready to hear it, tell us." He said, "My story is that we're on the 100th floor in the penthouse suite, the lift was out of order, we started walking up the stairs, but we left the key at reception." Well, it truly was a tragic story. This story perhaps speaks to many of us. In our life we have goals, we have aspirations, we have things that we're trying to pursue. We rise, we achieve, we attain. But sometimes after all of that, when we sit in a quiet place, maybe at home, and we just sit with our own mind, with our own heart, we sometimes feel, maybe I missed something. Maybe I left something somewhere else. Why is it that even though I'm surrounded by success, there still seems to be somewhat of a vacuum. And perhaps all of us have experienced this at some point in our life. And therefore, this is something that the Bhagavad Gita very, very much addresses. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is teaching something very, very beautiful. He's teaching us that in this life, until and unless we reach the point of yoga, or connection with divinity, connection with God, until and unless that connection is made, there'll always be a sense within our heart that something is missing. It's interesting, in the world today, many people practice yoga. But perhaps a lot of what people practice in yoga today, yoga has somewhat lost its soul. You see, yoga is less about maintaining the body. Yoga is more about awakening the soul. Yoga is less about looking good on the outside. Yoga is more about experience divinity on the inside. Yoga is less about connecting your head to your toes. It's more about connecting the soul to God. Yoga is less about solving your material diseases, but rather it's more about overcoming material desires. And therefore, the concept of yoga is an incredibly profound concept, because what yoga allows us to do is connect with something that we've always been looking for. It's interesting, they did a survey in the world to find out the top ways in which people relax in the world. Anyone want to shout out, what do you think the top ways are in which people relax in today's day and age? Watch TV. iPod, on the iPhone, scrolling. Sport. Vacation. Baseball. Go on holiday. Go to sleep. Okay, yeah, now we're going. The energy's coming now. They found out, I'll tell you, they did a survey and they found out the 4 top ways in which people relax. You want to know what they are? When I tell them to you, see if you can find a thread between all 4 of these activities. When people want to relax in this world, number 1, they take intoxication. Number 2, they watch a movie. Number 3, they go on holiday. Or number 4, they go to sleep. Those are the 4 top ways in which people relax. Can you see a thread between all of those activities?
Calm your mind.
Calm your mind?
Escape.
They're all an escape. When you watch a movie, you forget your life. When you go on holiday, you forget your normal life. When you go to sleep, you forget your normal life. When you take intoxication, you forget your normal life. But how long does intoxication last? How long does a movie last? How long can a holiday last? And how long can you sleep for? It's interesting that the soul is actually looking to escape to another space. But none of these things provide a permanent relief. Therefore, the ancient scriptures, the Bhagavad Gita explains that actually what we're all looking for is yoga. And yoga means a connection to another space of reality. The Christian writer C.S. Lewis once said, "If I find in myself a desire which no experience of this world can fulfill, then I must conclude I was made for another world. And so, Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita is basically teaching us the art of yoga. But Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita does something revolutionary. He explains that your work, your occupation, your career, your daily functioning in this world can be yoga. Yoga is not what people just do in the heights of the Himalayas or in the depths of a cave or in a temple somewhere or in a monastery surrounded by monks. Yoga is something we can do every single day, because in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about something called karma yoga. And this is the yoga of work. And so what Krishna says is that being successful in your career can also bring you great spiritual connection. But it must be done in a certain way. You see, what Krishna explains to Arjuna is there is a difference between growth, success, and happiness. Most people think growth means success, and success means happiness. But actually, Krishna says you can grow in your life, you can grow your income, you can grow your position, you can grow your power, you can grow your influence, but that doesn't mean necessarily that you're going to be successful. And Krishna says, even if you're successful, that doesn't necessarily mean you are going to be happy. Success doesn't equal happiness. Krishna says there has to be more to the equation. And so the Bhagavad Gita is a very, very beautiful book, because it's not a book which tells you to turn away from the world. It's not a book which tells you to turn away from your aspirations to make an impact while you're here. The Bhagavad Gita is very much a book which is encouraging us to be successful. However, that success must be pursued in a certain way, and then that success must be utilized in a certain way. And when you have this before your success, how you pursue it, and when you have this after your success, how you utilize it, then that success becomes karma yoga, and it brings you into connection with divinity. And so the two magic words that Krishna shares with Arjuna is dharma and seva. If you pursue success following dharma, and then once you have your success, if you utilize it in seva, then that success becomes karma yoga. And that kind of success doesn't just make you a material success, but that kind of success brings you great, deep spiritual fulfillment and happiness. Otherwise, we may find we're just like those individuals who have climbed very, very high, but have forgotten the key and can't seem to access real happiness of the heart. So in a very beautiful verse, Krishna explains this. Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalaheturbhur mate sangostva karmani. This is a very beautiful verse from the Bhagavad Gita, in which Krishna is telling us how to pursue success and how to utilize success. So the first very, very important word is dharma. If our life is not founded upon dharma, principles of righteousness, then no matter what we may achieve in this world, we will find that we lose a lot more in the process. sometimes people achieve success, but because they don't have dharma, they don't earn with integrity. What happens is they may earn money, but they lose their health, they lose their relationships, they lose their peace of mind, they lose their character. If we become successful, but we don't follow dharma, then what we will find that in our wealth, we've actually become very, very poor. There was once a king and he told his subjects, I'm going to open up all my lands today, and however far you can run and come back within 2 minutes, that much land you can have. So he picked 3 people, and the first person came and he ran into the lands, and he looked at his watch and it was 1 minute, and he thought, if I don't get back, I don't get anything. So after 1 minute he ran back and he got back in time. The king said, that much land is yours. The second person came to run, and he was running. It came to 1 minute. He thought, I can do a little bit more, I want more. So he ran another 10 seconds, and then he thought, I better get back. So he only had 50 seconds to get back, but somehow or other he ran like his life depended on it, and he made it back. And he got that much extra land. The third person came. He was running. It got to 1 minute. He said the last guy did 1 minute 10. He ran another 10 seconds. He said, I think I can go even further. And he ran another 10 seconds. And now he only had 40 seconds to get back. He had run further than any of them. He was destined to have the most land, but he had to get back in 40 seconds. So he ran and ran and ran and ran. And he made it. And then he had a heart attack and died. What profiteth a man who gains the whole world, but loses his soul? Therefore, success must be pursued, Krishna tells Arjuna, but earn with integrity, live with dharma, find balance in your life. Otherwise, that success won't really leave you in a very good position in your life. And therefore we see sometimes in the world the most successful people, the people who have made the biggest contribution seemingly externally, still in their own lives are not satisfied. They say sometimes our world is a story of smiling faces, crying hearts. So the first thing that I share with you today that the yoga of work encapsulates is to pursue your success with dharma. But the next very, very important thing that Krishna shares with Arjuna is that once you're successful, even if you follow it with dharma, there has to be something more. The next piece in the puzzle of karma yoga is that we must share with generosity. When we utilize our success to make a beautiful contribution to the world, when we utilize our success to benefit others than just our immediate circle, then what happens is that success and pursuance of purpose in selfless service to others touches our heart in a different way. The writer Rabindranath Tagore, he said, I went to sleep and I dreamt that life is joy. I woke up and I realized that life is service. I began to serve and I realized that service is joy. Service is joy. And when we serve others, when we are selfless with the success that we've gained and we utilize it in something higher than just selfish pursuits, then what happens is it really attracts the attention of God. A very famous verse in the Islamic tradition tells us, fasting will take you halfway to God. Praying will take you halfway to God. Fasting will take you to the door of God. But charity will induce God to open the door from the inside. Yes, you can pray. That's very nice. But more important than that is when one does some spiritual practice. But even more important than that is when one then goes on to share generously with others. A mysterious element of human psychology is that when we begin to dedicate ourselves to a cause greater than just ourselves, then mystical, magical, moving things begin to happen in our life. And most importantly, that space of selflessness is where divinity manifests in a very, very beautiful way. And so here in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is feeling his work to be an obstacle to his spirituality. And therefore Arjuna tells Krishna, I want to leave the battlefield. I want to leave my duty. I want to leave my family. I want to leave it all behind, and I just want to be a spiritual person. And Krishna tells him, if you really want to be spiritual, stay on the battlefield. Fight. Do your duty. Be a family man and render service to society. Krishna looks at Arjuna and says, be successful, but do it, pursue it with dharma, and then once you have it, utilize it for seva. And then Krishna looks at Arjuna and says, then you are the greatest sannyasi. Anashrita karma phalam karyam karma karotiya sa sannyasi cha yogi cha na niragnir na cha kriyaha. Krishna looks at Arjuna and he says, you can be even more than a sannyasi. A sannyasi is not one who is defined by their dress, by their external appearance, or by their vows. A sannyasi is one who dedicates their life in serving others. And therefore, Krishna looks at Arjuna and he says, you can be a sannyasi, even while living in this world, if you earn with integrity and you share with generosity. And so this is the great opportunity for each one of us. In 1965, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, whose picture is here, he left India, as many of you did. He left India and he came all alone at the age of 70 with 40 rupees in his pocket. He came on board a cargo ship. It said on that cargo ship it took him 2 months to come to America. And on that 2-month journey it said that he had 2 heart attacks at sea. He arrived in New York in the winter of 1965. It was one of the coldest recorded winters in New York history. Srila Prabhupada, he said, I came out of the ship and I didn't even know whether to turn left or right. I had no idea about this culture. I'm just a 70-year-old man here to teach people about God. And what did Srila Prabhupada do? He went straight to a New York park, and you can go to that park today. And he sat underneath a tree, and he brought out a pair of cymbals, and he began chanting Hare Krishna. And that was the beginning of the Hare Krishna movement in the Western world. 12 years later, he had traveled the world 14 times. He had translated over 50 volumes of books. He had opened 108 temples. he had made Hare Krishna practically a household name. And he showed that every single person can have an incredible contribution and impact in the world if we live with Dharma and we live with the spirit of Seva. At the end of this life, Krishna explains we can't take anything with us. Everything has to be left behind. But whatever we can carry with us, what we can carry with us is our devotion. What we can carry with us is all the hearts that we've touched, all the incredible relationships, and all the incredible selfless acts. Those things will continue to travel with us wherever we go after this life. And so the Bhagavad Gita is a book which teaches us to live in the immediate, but to ultimately focus on the ultimate. And when we do both of these things side by side, then Krishna says, you live a successful life materially and spiritually. This is karma yoga, and this is the yoga of work. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Questions? Yeah, so we have a little bit of time. Perhaps you have some questions, some comments, some contribution you would like to make, then we can have a little bit of a discussion as well. So if anyone would like to ask a question, then we welcome any comments from the floor, if you have. Yes.
Swamiji, the old saying goes, money is the root of all evil. So how do you explain that when you are saying about dharma and karma? In today's world, how do you carry that idea to the people?
Thank you so much. So if I'm not mistaken, the actual biblical saying is not money is the root of all evil. The actual saying is the lust for money is the root of all evil. In one sense, everything in this world can be utilized appropriately. Is a knife good or bad? Inherently, it's neither. It depends in whose hand that knife is situated. If it's situated in the hand of someone who has a deviant mentality, it will cause harm and hurt and aggression towards someone else. But if it's placed within the hand of someone who knows how to utilize it in medicine, then it can save someone's life. And therefore, money has caused so many problems in the world. In one sense, we can say money has ruined the media industry. Money has ruined the educational education that we have. Money has ruined the justice system. Money has that power, that insidious effect. But we can also say money has brought great benefits in many of these areas as well. And therefore, again, the point that Krishna is making to Arjuna is not to shy away from making money. In fact, one of Arjuna's names is Dhananjaya. Dhana means wealth, and Jaya means one who wins. So one of the names of Arjuna is the winner of wealth. And Arjuna is the most qualified person to win wealth, because he knows what to do with it. And so the Vedic system is dharma, artha, kama, moksha. When we live with dharma, then artha will come economic development will come, and then what will happen? Karma, you'll satisfy all your desires. And then once you've satisfied all your desires, moksha, you will begin to question, is there something more? That is the Vedic flow of life. So there's no need to shy away from money, but rather it's the lust for money, which is the root of all evil.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Why Krishna chose battlefield to teach Gita? He knows Arjuna for a long time and he could have taken any other place. But why Krishna selected battlefield to teach Gita?
Thank you so much. That's such a nice question. The battlefield is a very, very interesting place, because in the battlefield, ultimate questions start coming into one's mind, isn't it? Because when you're on a battlefield, you could die at any moment, and therefore immediately you're beginning to think about the ultimate goal of life. At the same time, the battlefield is a place in which the immediate questions also come to your mind, because in a minute everyone's going to start fighting and you need to know what to do. So the battlefield is very, very interesting, because it's the place where the immediate is very important, and it's the place where the ultimate is also very, very important. And why Krishna teaches the Bhagavad Gita on the battlefield is to remind us that we're actually fighting on that battlefield. And we need immediate knowledge, because tomorrow you have to wake up and you have to function in this world, and therefore you need wisdom. But the unpredictability of the material world is that we have no idea when we're going to leave this world. And therefore Krishna says the ultimate question should also be on our mind. When Yudhishthira was asked by Yamaraj, what is the most amazing thing in this world? Yudhishthira's answer was incredible. Ahani ahani bhutani gachanti ha yamalayam sheshastavaramichanti kimascharyam mataparam. Yamaraj looked at Yudhishthira, he said, what's the most amazing thing in the world? Yudhishthira said, Ahani ahani bhutani gachantiha yamalayam. Every single day, people around me are dying. Sheshastavanamichanti. But I think I'm going to be here forever. Kimascharyam ataparam. What can be more amazing than this? So the battlefield is where the immediate and the ultimate both come into focus. And Krishna wants to teach us that this world is a battlefield, and every single day we shouldn't just be concerned with the immediate, but we should also consider the ultimate, because we don't know when our time is coming. Thank you.
I have a question regarding seva. When you say dharma, karma, and seva, and contribution to the society, what are the different forms of seva that you can tell the audience today?
Oh, thank you so much. Very nice question. So we talk about seva. So how can you actually serve? What are the ways in which you can do that? So there's another beautiful verse in the scripture. Etavad janma safalyam dehinam iha dehishu pranerarthe diya vacha shreya acharanam sada. Etavad janma safalyam. Janma means your birth. Safalya means to make it fruitful. How do we make our life fruitful? Praner. Use your energy in service. Each one of us have some energy. We can make an effort, we can make an endeavor. Your practical acts, come and wash the temple, come and serve, come and cook, come and do something practical. This is one way in which you can serve. prana. Artha, each one of us have some wealth, each one of us have some possession or resource. We can utilize that in seva. Dhiya, intelligence. Each one has been given some intelligence, some ability, some unique capacity that can be utilized in service to others. And vacha, your words. When our words carry the words of Krishna, when we share the same words that Krishna shared to the world, when we share those words of wisdom with the world, then that becomes another beautiful way to serve. So these are 4 broad ways in which you can serve. Praner, arte, dhiya, vacha. Through your energy, through your wealth, through your intelligence, and through your words. And if you do, Shreya Acharanam Sada, one's life becomes glorious.
Swamiji, I have one question. You quoted the most powerful, the shlokas of Bhagavad Gita, Karmannava Adhikaraste Ma Phaleshu Kadachan, in the context of contemporary world where Yamanji brought up work and yoga together. In this professional world, every single day, we just see, it is driven by the results. That's what it's focused on. There are targets to be met. Starting with the dharma, we can continue to perform our dharma. But how do we kind of try to find the equilibrium, the balance between performing a duty and maybe meeting or not meeting the goals or results? How do you, as karma yogi, derive satisfaction or peace out of it?
Thank you so much. Such a nice question. Yes, so we're living in a world which is driven by results. And every day you have targets to meet. So how do you practically detach yourself from the results when it seems like that is what the world is judging you on? You see, the world may judge us on results, but Krishna judges us on our endeavor. The mystical and amazing thing is, if we would actually just focus on making the best endeavor, which is what true success is, you'll actually have the best results. People think that if I constantly think about the result, if I'm meditating on that, then somehow I'm going to get a better result. The amazing thing is, if you actually just forget about the result, and you just say, I'm going to go in, and I'm just going to do my best, and after that, whatever happens is up to divinity, is up to God. The most amazing thing about that mentality is that you will end up having the best results. And therefore, Krishna is teaching us this, that if you can go to bed at night and you can say, I had the best intention, I gave my best attention, and I performed the action that was required of me, then you can go to bed at night and know you're already a success. It doesn't matter what the outcome is on a material level. So this was Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada came to America. He was not obsessing about the result. He was simply coming and he said, I'm going to try my best. And he became successful externally beyond anyone's imagination. Because Yatra Yogeshvara Krishno, Yatra Partho Dhanur Jaya, Tatra Shrir Vijayo Bhutir Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. Wherever there is Krishna and wherever there is the devotee who makes the perfect endeavor, there will always be victory, success, incredible opulence and morality. So we have to make that shift of consciousness. And what we will find is it brings an incredible peacefulness in our life. Thank you.
Swamiji, I have a question. Krishna and Krishna consciousness, Gita, this is all one, and this is eternal go tens of thousands or or hundreds of thousands of years old. And my question is that we believe in life is a journey and self-improvement, focus, dharma, moksha, what you were talking before. But the other baby religions of the world, which are only 1500 or 2000 years old, they are the baby religion, I call them. They came out of the super consciousness, of Gita and other, and they don't believe in this, but they are always attacking the Krishna consciousness or Hinduism. Not only attacking, but they are forcing, forcing the conversion, right way or wrong way. There is no right way, the wrong way, either by small donations or giving small things. So that is a real threat to Hinduism. When I say Hinduism, I'm talking about people who believe in Krishna. And everybody here believes in Krishna. And everybody here is, I think, is a Hindu. So my question is, how do we just ignore this problem that God will take care? And I don't think we can ignore this. What do we do? Is this a
Thank you so much. Yes. So, your point is that there are other religions in the world, and that perhaps sometimes there is a level of aggressiveness in perhaps conversions or missionary activity, and you feel that to be a threat to the Hindu culture. The first thing is, I would say we should perhaps be careful about labeling any religion in any one way. I think in every religion you find good and maybe not so good. And perhaps even within our own Hindu tradition, we find elements which don't really represent Hinduism and don't really conduct themselves as Hindus would actually believe themselves, to be presented. So the first thing is, I would say we live in a world in which there are many, many different shades, and therefore to say one religion is good, one religion is bad, this religion is doing good, that religion is doing bad, may be slightly simplistic, because we can find good and bad elements within every tradition. That's the first point I'd make. The second point I'd make is that the best way to preserve a spiritual tradition, rather than political maneuvering, is actually genuine education. Education is the most powerful way of preservation. And therefore, if those who grow up in the Hindu tradition actually understand the value of the wisdom within their tradition, if they actually see the power of the insights which are offered in the Bhagavad Gita, if they actually practice karma yoga and see the effects of this spiritual practice in their life, they won't need anyone to tell them, don't listen to another. They'll just appreciate their tradition. There will be no need. And so, that's where the burden comes on our shoulders. Because we have to deeply ask ourselves, how deeply do we know our tradition? If someone would ask us on the street, what does Krishna talk about in Bhagavad Gita? Can you summarize it for me in 3 minutes? How many of us would feel confident to represent those teachings? How many of us have read through all the verses of the Bhagavad Gita? We want to educate our children, but do we know? If we don't know, we can't pass it on. And therefore, the most powerful way of preservation is education. And that is why temples exist. Temples exist not just for ritual and for worship, which is very important, but temples are places of education.
Swamiji, first of all, thank you so much for your very exciting and enlightening discourse tonight. My question is this: you explained in your discourse that we should all do karmas with following the dharma, and we should also do some seva. But there is a human tendency that we get attached to these karmas. So my question is, how do you not get attached to the karmas?
Thank you so much, yes. So there's always a tendency to get attached to our karma. We become successful in this world, we get a certain position, we get a certain prosperity, and in the midst of having all of that, then we find that we get attached to it. That's why Krishna says simultaneously with doing your karma yoga in this world, everyone should have some spiritual practice. This in Sanskrit is known as sadhana. So every day when we remember that actually I'm just in this world for some time, I'm not a human being having a spiritual experience. I'm a spiritual being on a human chapter. I exist beyond this world. I exist after this life. I exist in a spiritual realm which is beyond the material. And when we're connecting with that higher identity, then we can be surrounded by wealth, we can be surrounded by prosperity, but still in our heart we will know there's something beyond all of this. Shakespeare said, all the world's a stage, and each person just an actor. And we have our entrances, and we have our exits. And therefore, the more that one is cultivating their spiritual understanding, they will live in this world, function in this world, be successful in this world, but in the back of their mind, remember, I'm beyond this world. And so that comes from spiritual practice. Is that okay? Thank you so much.
Swamiji, I have two questions. Question one is, I just heard about the happiness you talk about. The way I understand that happiness is the interval between the two sadness. So, what you suggest for people for a constant happiness? How can you be happy all the time?
Mm-hmm.
Second question is...
Should we do that one first? Let's begin with that one, otherwise I may forget. What do I suggest for finding happiness constantly? Because we seem to go in and out of happiness. See, we're looking for the right thing, but we're looking in the wrong place. This is the story of our life. We're looking for the right thing, but we're looking in the wrong place. Even when we pray to God, we pray for happiness, but we pray for the wrong things. Once there was a husband and wife, and it was their 40th anniversary. They were both 60 years old. So a genie came to the man and he said, congratulations, 40-year anniversary, it's a great achievement. Any boon you'd like? He said, I wish my wife was 30 years younger than me. Boom, he became 90. He was like, no, there must be some mistake here. There must be some mistake. No, you wanted it. So the point is, we're looking for the right thing, but we're looking for it in the wrong way. Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita Yehi samsparsha jaboga dukkayonaya evade adyantavanta kondeya nadeshu ramade buddha. If you try to find happiness through material arrangements, through material achievements, through material relationships, through any kind of material acquisition, you'll find yourself frustrated. Because when we try to look for happiness through the material things, one of four things happens. Number one, you don't get it, frustration. Number two, you get it, but it's not as good as you thought it would be, frustration. Number three, you get it, it's good, but then it fades, frustration. Or number four is good, but along with it comes something negative that you didn't want, frustration. And therefore Krishna says, if you actually want to experience unending, eternal happiness, then instead of looking outside of yourself, we have to look and turn within. And so our civilization is moving in the wrong way. We have taller buildings and shorter tempers. We have wider highways and narrower minds. We have more possessions and we enjoy it less. We've multiplied our degrees, but we've reduced our common sense. We lose our health to get wealth, and then we spend that wealth to try and get our health back. We've conquered outer space, but we don't know how to deal with inner space. So therefore Krishna says we're looking for the right thing, but we're looking in the wrong place. And therefore happiness is an inside job. And that's why most people, after gaining and achieving and attaining everything, still wonder, what's missing? Is that okay?
Swamiji, I understand this. This is a materialistic world, right?
Yeah.
We are living in a materialistic world. And how can we, how you address that issue? That
you can
we're looking at wrong thing in a right place?
No, but
right?
you can live in a materialistic world, but that doesn't mean you have to be materialistic. So the first thing I mentioned is that yes, you're living in, I never in this talk at any point said you shouldn't have material things. In fact, I told you to be successful. I told you to have material things. But what did I say? Earn with dharma. And then share with generosity. So that's the point. You can have material things. You can be in the... It's not that spiritualists don't own anything. It's that spiritualists aren't owned by anything. Are you using your phone? Or is your phone using you? Right? So there's a difference. So spiritual people have material things, no problem. Arjun, I already said, Arjun's name, Dhananjaya, the winner of wealth. I'm not in any way, shape or form encouraging any of you to take sannyas. But if you're interested, we do have vacancies. So, but if you don't want to take sannyas, no problem. I already said, who is the greatest sannyasi? Sa sannyasi cha yogi cha na niragnir na cha kriya. This is not sannyas. The state of one's heart is sannyas. And yes, if you focus on yourself, if you purify your own consciousness, then you are able to come out into the world and actually make a contribution to others. When you're on a plane, then you've heard it. They say, if there's an emergency and the cabin pressure drops, then the mask will come out. And who do you put the mask on first? Yourself. Because if you're not alive, you can't do anything to help others. And therefore, the global revolution begins with a personal resolution. You can't take the world to a higher place than what you've reached internally yourself. And therefore, focusing on our own spiritual development is in no way, shape or form selfish if the ultimate purpose of that is to then come out in the world and do some seva to help the world.
Swamiji.
Yeah, just 2 more questions, then we'll end.
Okay, so this is one of the 2. So I want to share one simple verse with everybody here and want to hear your views. This was the verse I learned in high school, and it has been guiding me all my life. And it's very simple, it just distinguishes a good and a bad, how you distribute your knowledge, your wealth, and your power using dharma. And the verse is, Vidya vivadaya dhanam madaya shakti pareshan parapidinaya khalasya sadhor viparit etar jnanaya danaya chalakshanaya. So it has guided me all my life, and I often repeat it whenever I have problems. And so I want to share it with everybody.
Thank you so much. Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Beautiful.
Swamiji, I had a question second. You get a chance.
Oh, okay.
So, I am retired now. Many of us sitting here, all probably majority of people are retired in our latter part of our life. So lately thoughts are coming that also I read that you born again, right? So I was wondering, what is the purpose of life? Is coming here, eating, making babies, dying and coming back again, this bullshit again. How can I get rid of that anyway? You have anything to say? If you have realized that something like that, what is the purpose of life? Please share that knowledge.
Yeah, this is explained by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. This life is an opportunity to understand who you are, where you really belong, and what will fulfill your heart. And so what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram ya prayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra samsayaha. Krishna says, whatever you think about at the moment of death, that's where you'll go next. Interesting. Because what you think of at the final moment sums up your desires, sums up what's important to you in your heart. And the old saying goes, man proposes, God disposes. So if at the end of this life one has understood, I'm a spiritual being, an eternal servant of God, and I exist in a place beyond this material world. I exist in a spiritual world where every step is a dance, every word is a song, every act is an act of love. I exist in a place of eternity where there's no disease, old age, death. I exist in a place where I can live happily ever after. And if those thoughts dominate one's mind when they leave this world, then they go back there.
Where?
To that place. The spiritual world. The place from which you don't come back to this material world. And if not, you may have to come back to Buffalo. We like Buffalo, it's a nice place, but the spiritual world is better. So that's where we exist in eternity. Vaikuntha, the place where there's no anxiety. Now you may say, oh, it's all wishful thinking. But actually, as C.S. Lewis said, I'll repeat it. If I find in myself a desire which no experience of this world can fulfill, there's only one conclusion. I'm not made for this world. I'm made for another world. And we have that opportunity. And if we don't take advantage of that opportunity, then we have to come back again. And then we have to do it all over again. You have to go back to school. You have to pass all your exams. Then you have to get married. And then you have to bring up the kids. And then you have to take them to school. And then, along that journey, you maybe get another opportunity. And if we don't, then we come back again. Again and again and again. But now, we have a chance. So you're in the business end of life. It's a great opportunity. Now is the greatest time in your life. Because now you can focus on the real reason why you're here. Now your children have grown up. Now so many of your duties are done. Now you have security. And now you have some time on your hands. So now you can use that time and achieve what we didn't achieve in lifetimes. Love for God.